Shout out to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Hey guys, Spirit of the Law here. In this Civ overview, we're going to be taking a look at the Malians. Malians are a tricky civilization to sum up, as they don't rely on any one strength or even general strategy. Officially, they're an infantry civ, but for most of the game have great archers, cavalry, and flexible enough eco bonuses they can do just about anything. That makes them strong on many of the most popular maps, and by extension land among the top 10 overall by win rate. Beyond that, they have a very fun unique unit, and just about the most open tech tree in the mid-game you can possibly have, so there's lots to talk about. To start with their team bonus, Malians and their ally universities work 80% faster, or in other words, techs are researched in about half the usual time. Across all university techs, Malians alone theoretically end up saving 404 in research time, which in this case is not an error. Obviously, you're not actually going to research everything like keep and heated shot every game, so admittedly that total slightly oversells it. The two techs that jump out in particular to me are first ballistics, dropping from 60 to 33 seconds, giving an important power spike for crossbows, and chemistry dropping from 100 to 56 seconds, granting you access to gunpowder units just that much sooner. Moving on to their proper civ bonuses, the first is that Malian buildings cost 15% less wood, excluding farms, which are built at the regular cost. Even without farms, this is a very good Dark Age bonus, where between 4 houses, a mill, 2 lumber camps, and a barracks saves you over 80 wood right there, keeping pace with many other wood bonuses. It makes them among the civilizations able to comfortably get away with just 2 villagers on wood in Dark Age, as long as you move 9 or 10 over to wood once you click up. The savings then continue throughout the game, and easily add up to another 100 wood in Feudal Age with pretty standard buildings. And ultimately in a game that goes to the Imperial Age, will land comfortably over 600 in savings as a starting point, depending on what you build. Even beyond the large total, it helps particularly in those moments right when you hit a new age and want to immediately place newly unlocked buildings, from stables to town centers, with the knock-on effect making it easier to grab ecotechs right away as well, so it's a far-reaching bonus. It's then complemented by a second eco bonus, where villagers drop off 10% more gold. Basically, they mine 10 gold at the usual rate, but when they drop it off, the stockpile goes up by 11. This is even better than a plus 10% collection rate boost, as it has a plus 10% carry capacity effect baked in at the same time. The other aspect of this is it's like a longer lasting resource bonus as well, since if you collect the standard 12,000 gold that's generated around your town center, your villagers end up dropping off an extra 1,200 more that your opponents don't get. Besides the obvious benefit to creating gold-heavy units like archers or knights, until recently this created a situation where mining gold could be a faster way of generating food than farming itself. Though a recent change to the starting market price of food from 130 to 150 means that's no longer the case. Essentially, it takes almost exactly 6 minutes of villager work to farm out 100 food in early Feudal Age, if we account for the time it takes to gather the wood required for the farm. A Malian gold miner without the gold mining tech takes slightly longer to mine the 150 gold required to buy the same food at the market. So the best way to use the bonus ends up being to just move the odd villager off of gold onto another resource you need directly, rather than putting extra on gold to buy. Already, we arrive at their final bonus, which gives your barracks units plus 1 pierce armor per age starting in Feudal. Right away, this essentially removes skirmishers as a threat to the swordsman line, going from 23 javelins to 45 against men-at-arms lacking blacksmith techs. Against archers, they also go from 12 to 15 shots taken, raised to 23 with the blacksmith armor upgrade, making a men-at-arms opening extra tricky to deal with. Likewise, Malians become one of the better longsword civilizations, and with +2/+2 blacksmith armor, go from the usual 15 or 20 with gambesons to 30 shots from crossbows or town centers. So you can see these are substantive improvements. Probably most notorious are the Malian champ scarls though, and where regular champions take 5 damage from arbalesters or 4 with gambesons, Malians take just 2 damage per arrow. They're not as anti-archer as huskarls of course, but it starts to feel like archers aren't a particularly strong counter. Less obvious is the spear line also gains the extra pierce armor as you age up, and Malian pikemen for example take over 50% more shots than generic fully upgraded halberdiers from late game elite skirmishers. This is all with the trade-off of missing the final attack upgrade and the anti-cavalry bonus increase of halberdier, but there's no question Malian barracks units can be a massive weapon against good archer civilizations. So that's their bonuses, giving a lot of flexibility to your economy with a wood and gold boost, combined with one good example of why Malians are officially an infantry civ. The other reason to call them that may be their excellent infantry unique unit, which we'll take a look at next, the Gbeto. As always, I recently looked at this unit in depth as its own video, but to summarize for overview purposes, it brings a very unique combination of the melee damage of infantry, but with nearly the speed and range of a cavalry archer. They cost 50 food and 40 gold, while packing a massive punch, doing significantly more damage than other ranged melee units like throwing axemen and mamelukes. On the other hand, they're not very durable, having just 5 more HP than a crossbowman. They're of course upgraded like any infantry, and note that ballistics doesn't apply to them, which is true of other ranged melee units as well. In terms of what they're good against, as melee units they tear through buildings quite quickly, and are then able to raid very effectively from a combination of their speed and the fact a group as small as 5 are able to one-shot a villager. With micro, they're also excellent against nearly all manner of infantry, and since they're not technically archers, they also aren't hard countered by skirmishers. The more edge cases they're situationally good against then include knights and siege. Both of these require micro to either hit and run or dodge incoming shots, but again their melee damage, especially against siege, can absolutely shred mangonels and rams. In fact, the only units they're really not good against are mass archers, especially after ballistics is researched, and cavalry archers, which are only slightly cost effective but can actually chase them down. In theory, hand cannons also counter Gbetos because of their bonus damage, but in practice the Gbeto has similar range and much better accuracy, so it's not that clear cut. Ultimately, Gbetos work well either in a small group to raid and pick off siege, for example trebuchets, or as a high DPS support unit with infantry or cavalry in front. The Malian tech tree is good enough they probably don't need Gbetos, but they're pretty fun to micro and can do shocking amounts of damage in the right situations. So that's their unique unit, and now let's stay at the castle and check out their unique techs. The first is Tigui, which adds 8 extra arrows to your town centers with no garrison required. Of course, any garrison villagers still add their regular arrows on top like usual, and this is essentially like having the firepower of 12 extra villagers garrisoned in all town centers at all times. To give a couple of examples of its firepower, knights with no armor upgrades take just 3 rounds of firing to bring down, increased to 5 if the knights have +2 armor. In Imperial Age, Hussars then take 6, as Imperial Age units' HP and armor start to outpace town center damage, and a fully upgraded Paladin takes 23 full rounds of firing. Units like Mangonels of course still outrange them as well, so clearly it doesn't make your base untouchable, especially in the late game, but considering its cheap cost, it can come in handy if you're being harassed by a lot of knight or cavalry archer raids. Their other unique tech, Farimba, gives their cavalry +5 attack, though considering they're missing Blast Furnace, it's functionally +3 more than usual. At first, this tech may appear expensive, at over 1,000 resources, though you have to consider that Malians lack some final upgrades for cavalry, which in some cases this tech can almost make up for entirely. Compared to the Paladin and Blast Furnace techs together, it's much cheaper, and yet Malian Cavaliers are able to match both Byzantine and Celt Paladins head-to-head. Admittedly, these aren't the best Paladins, but clearly Farimba gives great value to Cavaliers in melee. It also affects light cavalry, giving those 7 + 7 more attack. While they take out full HP villagers in the same number of hits, any damaged villagers are more likely to go down 1 hit sooner, halberdiers go down 2 attacks sooner, and in general are if anything better in melee than generic fully upgraded Hussars. Malian heavy camels also benefit, having the same 7 + 7 attack. There are several really good camel bonuses, and you can make a convincing argument that Saracens, Berbers, Hindustanis, and Gurjars have better camels, but Malian camels are at least in that discussion, and can absolutely shred paladins, while again also taking out halberdiers 2 attacks sooner. So that's the unique techs, which take a very different direction to their bonuses. While their bonuses were initially centered around flexibility, the castle focuses on extra punch, with a very hard-hitting unique unit, extra arrows on town centers, and finally the extra attack on cavalry. Now let's get back to their jack-of-all-trades core identity by taking a look at their tech tree, starting with the archers. At first glance, it's pretty open, with remember a helpful wood and gold bonus to help the archer and cavalry archer lines, where an early archer opening followed up with crossbow is pretty natural. The glaring problem is you're missing bracer, with the only archery range unit not hit hard by that being the hand cannoneer. I still think it's enough for a B+, given most of the game what you have here is very good, and it's just the Imperial Age where they fall off to being kind of average or slightly below. Next up for infantry, again, you're missing some critical late game techs with halberdier, blast furnace, and gambazins, but remember everything here gets up to +3 pierce armor for free. I'd also throw in the Gbeto as an infantry unit that offers an unusually strong ability to raid, and for a bonus shutting down a lot of infantry's common late game counters, I actually think it's enough for an A-, albeit it's a very unorthodox barracks for top tier. Moving on to Cavalry, it's almost a repeat of Infantry. You're missing Hussar, Paladin, and Blast Furnace, which would usually signal a weak stable, but that's not really how things play out. Your wood discount makes a scout opening quite strong, and you also have the extra gold bonus, plus a full tech tree in Castle Age, including camels, making Cavalry a great play in the mid-game. You then have the +7 attack on all of these units in Imperial Age, so they're tougher than they look, and indirectly save a lot of resources in those missing upgrades. I actually think it's another A-, though again a very unorthodox one. Next up for Siege, things fall off a bit here, with no Siege Engineers, and you're also missing Siege Ram and Heavy Scorpion. Siege Onager without engineers doesn't excite me too much, but you have the Bombard Cannon, which I find suits the slightly more mobile Malian late game anyway. Overall though, I'd say it's just a B. Moving on to the Navy, things start out well enough with your wood and gold bonus, which can match many direct naval bonuses head to head, enough so for an A- early on. Late game, things get very rough though, missing Bracer, Galleon, and Shipwright, any one of which puts you behind a top tier naval civ. I'd even say it's just a C- late, evening out to a B overall on water. Taking a quick look at the monks, a gold bonus is always nice, and they have a very open tech tree, just missing Illumination. That speeds up faith regeneration between conversions, but I wouldn't consider it a top 3 monk tech in importance. Cheaper buildings and more gold is a pretty good match for early monks as well, and I'd say it's a solid B+. Next up for defenses, it's again a fairly complete tech tree, as a running theme for Malians. You're just missing Bomber Tower, Siege Engineers, and Arrow Slits, with remember all of this researching 80% faster. You also have the Tigui tech, giving town centers passive defense, so while they're not your prototypical tower civ, I actually think they're an A- for defenses overall. And finally, for their trash units, that is, units that don't cost gold, it looks brutal on the face of it, missing Bracer, Halberdier, Blast Furnace, and Hussar, but it's really not as bad as it looks. The pikemen have +3 pierce armor, and the light cavalry also have 14 attack instead of the usual 11. The elite skirmisher though are just kinda bad, there's no way around it. For missing so many techs, it's hard to go higher than a B, but their pikemen and light cavalry end up situationally just as good, or sometimes better than their fully upgraded versions. So that's their tech tree, and now let's put it all together. One common theme I'm sure is obvious is this is a very flexible jack-of-all-trades style civilization, maybe even more so than any other civ in the game. To that point, it's hard to go wrong with any opening, between the extra pierce armor on men-at-arms, the wood discount letting you open strong with scouts, or going heavily into archers with wood and gold bonuses helping directly. Castle Age has the same flexibility, but even more so, with a choice of crossbows, knights, or camels, with Malians having fully upgraded versions of all 3. Remember, your longswords also have +2 pierce armor, potentially cutting the damage they take from crossbows in half. Gbeto are then fun to throw in, and are great at breaking through house or palisade walls and harassing villagers. You might think Imperial Age is where the civilization falls off, as they're missing Bracer, Paladin, Hussar, Halberdier, and Siege Engineers, but in reality, early Imperial Age is a great time for Malians. University techs come in faster, including chemistry, there's still tons of gold on the map, you get more armor on your infantry, and Ferimba Cavalier is much faster and cheaper to tech into than a more typical Paladin and Blast Furnace transition. Plus, you have great camels. In 1v1 Arabia, this is actually when Malians seal a lot of their wins, according to the stats. In terms of some late game army compositions to aim for, I personally like the combo of the Gbeto, or sometimes hand cannons, backing up cavalry, though the exact cavalry choice depends a bit on the gold situation and how useful camels would be in the moment. While a good archer civ can theoretically handle all of these combos, that's where the champ Scarl comes in, and a pairing with light cavalry in particular is very light on gold. Now one thing I know some of you have been wondering throughout the video is where is Mali anyways? I'll help you out, but if you weren't already sure, and maybe you don't own enough maps. If you have a good one nearby, you know that in fact this isn't Mali, this is. If you're looking to brush up on your geography, you should check out my new online map store called Spirit of the Lost. It has a great website I made in minutes, thanks to this video's sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting or managing a growing brand, Squarespace makes it easy to create a great-looking website, engage with your audience, and then sell anything from products to content to time, all in one place. Using either their pre-made templates or Squarespace's AI-enhanced website builder, you can create a fully customized website to suit your needs. It's perfect for building an online presence for a physical business or starting an online store using their built-in tools for inventory and shipping, with plenty of analytics to give you insight about your website's traffic and sales. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/spiritofthelaw to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So that was a revisit of the Malians. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.